fourth graders, Miss Faulkner here. I am taking a look at your Lesson 15 homework book pages because I want to give you some examples of what the questions are asking and how to complete your problem set. The directions are identical for both the homework pages and the problem set. Now again, I'm looking at the homework book pages, but you will complete the problem set pages when you do your assignment. For your problem set, your must-do questions are going to be 2, 8, 12, and 15, and you can always go above and beyond and complete more than those, but the must-dos are 2, 8, 12, and 15. So let's take a look at some examples of what these questions are asking. In this first part, it's going to give you a certain amount of pennies, and it wants you to write that as a fraction and as a decimal. So if we take a look at this, I see that $1 it shows is made up of 100 pennies because each penny is 1 cent. And if you remember, cent means 100, so there are 100 cents in a dollar. So each one of these pennies is 1 out of 100 cents in a dollar, or 1 out of 100 pennies in a dollar. So each penny is 1/100th of a dollar. Let's take a look at question 3. Now in your problem set, you're doing question 2, but that's actually the same as this one here. So I want you to complete it on your own. So question 3, 3 pennies, what would that be as a fraction and as a decimal? Well, if we have 3 pennies, and I'm going to circle, but you don't have to circle when you have your problem set, I'm just showing. If I have 3 pennies, if 1 penny is 1/100th of a dollar, 3 pennies is 3/100ths of a dollar. That's 3 out of 100 cents in a dollar, or 3 out of 100 pennies in a dollar, so 3/100ths of a dollar. So I'm going to fill in the fraction part, and then I also want to write it as a decimal. So I drew a place value chart over here to help me write this as a decimal. So 3 cents is 3/100ths of a dollar. 3 out of 100 cents in a dollar, or 3 out of 100 pennies in a dollar. So that is 3 units in the hundredths place. I have 0 tenths, and I have 0.1, so that's 0.03. 0.03 would be 3 pennies, which is 3 cents. So for this first part here, you're going to take a look at however many pennies you have, write that as a fraction and as a decimal. In the second part, you're going to be taking a look at dimes. Now there's 2 different ways to kind of think about dimes. Each dime is worth 10 cents. So each dime is 10 out of 100 cents in a dollar, 10/100ths of a dollar. And I know that 10/100ths is equivalent to 1/10, because also if you want to think about dimes as 1/10 of a dollar, because there are 10 dimes in a dollar, so each one of these dimes is 1 out of 10 dimes in a dollar. So there's kind of 2 different ways to think about dimes there, 10 out of 100 cents in a dollar, or 1 out of 10 dimes in a dollar, but 10/100ths and 1/10 are equivalent. So let's take a look at number 8 here, and 8 will look different in your problem set. So if I have 4 dimes, and again I'm circling, but you don't have to, 4 dimes is 40 cents, which would be 40/100ths of a dollar, or 4/10ths of a dollar. Because again, I can think about this as 40 out of 100 cents in a dollar, which is equivalent to 4/10ths, because 4 dimes is also 4 out of 10 dimes in a dollar. So 40/100ths and 4/10ths are equivalent to each other. So 4 dimes would be 4/10ths of a dollar. Now as a decimal there, I'm going to use my place value chart. 4 dimes would be 4/10ths of a dollar, so that is 4 units in the tenths place. But when we write money, we don't just want to write 0.4, because if you think back to price tags or other places where you've seen money written as a decimal, you know that it goes out to the hundredths place. You usually see money written as the decimal point and then 2 place values after that, because money goes out to the hundredths place because there are 100 cents in a dollar. So when we write our money in decimal form, we're going to go out to the hundredths place. So 4/10ths and 40/100ths are equivalent. So even though we would write 4/10ths as 0.4, we're going to write our money as 0.40 going out to the hundredths place, because there are 100 cents in a dollar. So for 4/10ths of a dollar as a decimal, I'm going to write 0.40, which would also be 40/100ths of a dollar, because that's 40 cents out of 100 cents in a dollar, which is 4 out of 10 dimes in a dollar. So for the next part, you're going to be looking at quarters instead. So our quarters, each quarter we know is worth 25 cents. So if we have 1 quarter, that's 25 cents out of 100 cents in a dollar. 25 hundredths of a dollar. So 1/4 is 25 hundredths of a dollar. So let's take a look at 12. If we have 2 quarters then, that would be 25 hundredths and then another 25 hundredths of a dollar. So 25 hundredths plus 25 hundredths, that would give us 50 hundredths of a dollar, because that's 50 cents out of 100 cents in a dollar. 50 hundredths of a dollar. So as my fraction, 50 cents would be 50 hundredths of a dollar, and as a decimal, that would be 0.50. Now we are practicing writing money as decimals because that is probably the most common form that you're going to see decimals for the rest of your life, as money. That's where we usually see decimals written, and we use that almost every day. So it's really important that we're practicing writing money as decimals so that we can apply that to our everyday lives. Now, when we get to the back page of our problem set, the directions are going to be a little bit different. If we go up to the directions, it says solve, give the total amount of money in fraction and decimal form. So we want to make sure that we're writing each of these as a fraction and as a decimal. So let's take a look at 15. Let's say we have 5 dimes and 8 pennies. What would that be? Well, I know that each dime is a tenth of a dollar because it's 10 out of 100 cents in a dollar, and it takes 10 dimes to make a dollar, so each dime is 1/10 of a dollar. So 5 dimes would be 5/10 of a dollar. Plus 8 pennies, well, I know each penny is 100th of a dollar, so 8 pennies would be 8/100ths of a dollar. But I know that when I add fractions, I can only add fractions that have the same denominator. So 5/10, I know that each tenth is worth 10 hundredths, so 5/10 would be 50 hundredths. And now they have the same denominator, and I can add them. So 50 hundredths plus 8 hundredths is 58 hundredths of a dollar. And that makes sense because 5 dimes, each dime is 10 cents, so 5 dimes is 50 cents. And 8 pennies, each penny is 1 cent, so 8 pennies is 8 cents. So 50 cents plus 8 cents would be 58 cents. 58 out of 100 cents in a dollar, so 58 hundredths. And then as a decimal, that would be 0.58 58 hundredths, because I know 58 hundredths is 5/10 and 8 hundredths. And then I can also put that dollar sign to the left here. I know the dollar sign goes in front to the left, so 58 cents would be 58 hundredths of a dollar. Now again, you can always go above and beyond and challenge yourself and do some of the more challenging problems as well. So let's take a look at what one of those more challenging problems might be. So what if we did 17? If we had 3 quarters, 7 dimes, and 16 pennies. Well, each quarter is 25 cents, so 25 hundredths of a dollar. So 3 quarters would be 75 hundredths of a dollar. And then 7 dimes, each dime is 1/10 of a dollar. So 7 dimes would be 7/10 of a dollar. And 16 pennies, each penny is 100th of a dollar, so 16 pennies would be 16 hundredths of a dollar. Now I see that they do not all have the same denominator, they're not all in the same fractional unit, so I would need to convert this 7/10 into 70 hundredths, and now I can add them because they're all in hundredths, and that makes sense because 7 dimes is worth 70 cents. So 75 hundredths plus 70 hundredths plus 16 hundredths. If I added those all together, 75 hundredths plus 70 hundredths plus 16 hundredths. And again, you can add them in parts. You don't have to add them all at once. So 5 plus 6 is 11. Drop the 1, carry the 1. 7 plus 7 is 14. 15, 16, drop the 6, carry the 1. So that would be 161 hundredths. 161 hundredths of a dollar. But wait, that is an improper fraction, which means that I have more than one whole dollar because I know that $1 is 100 cents. So 100 hundredths would make $1, and so I have more than that right now. I have an improper fraction. So I would need to decompose this as 100 hundredths, which is one whole dollar. 100 out of 100 cents in a dollar is one whole dollar. And then 61 hundredths, so that would be 1 61 hundredths of a dollar. One whole dollar is 100 out of 100 cents, and then 61 hundredths, so that would be 1 61 hundredths of a dollar. So then as a decimal, I have 1 and then 61 hundredths. And I'm going to put that dollar sign to the left in front of my number here. So $1 and 61 hundredths of a dollar, so $1.61. So when you go back and do your lesson 15 problem set, you'll be completing 2, 8, 12, and 15. So make sure that for each problem, you are writing your fraction and your decimal for the amount of money that it gives you. We're looking forward to seeing your lesson 15 problem sets.